Hi everyone, my name is Annabelle, and on this channel I talk about my bulimia recovery journey. It's been more than 70 days since I last binged and purged, and I can sense some shifts happening in my body. Now, just a disclaimer, I haven't gone to the doctor, and I don't know if these shifts are happening because before this, let's say, recovery period, I have been 46 days binge and purge free, and then I relapsed, and now I'm back being binge and purge free again. Or is it just simply the fact that for the first time in my life, I'm binge and purge free for a long stretch of time? But in any case, I'm feeling lots of changes. Now, before I get into what I've been experiencing and feeling in my body, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background just so you understand what's been happening behind the scenes, because context is very important. Up until day one of this 70-day period where I've been binge and purge free, I have been on reduction. Now, I talked about this before, but if you're new to this channel, what I have been doing basically is I've been on a muscle building journey. And I went through a bulking period where I was eating more than my maintenance calories in order to build muscle. And reduction is when you eat lower than your maintenance calories, so you lose the fat that you gained while building muscle. And so I have been trying to lose fat for a very long time, actually for months, but I wasn't successful. And I have a strong belief that it's because I've been binging and purging throughout that entire time. And this means that I've also been in reduction on that first period where I was sober for 46 days, but then I relapsed. So this time around, when I decided once again that I'm gonna fully commit to my recovery, I knew that it wouldn't make sense for me to recover if I'm still trying to lose fat. It just didn't make sense. Like, I needed to give my body the nutrients that it needed. I needed to also start trusting myself around food and trusting myself around food choices. And so I didn't want to concern myself as well with keeping up with a certain amount of calories every single day. It just didn't make sense to me. Like, something, I guess, flipped in my brain, and it's like, I cannot try to lose fat while I'm trying to recover from bulimia. It just doesn't make sense. And this also made me realize that if I'm gonna commit to this, I'm gonna probably start gaining weight, because if I'm gonna be giving my body whatever it needs, I'm gonna listen to its signals and just try to eat as intuitively as I can, I'm gonna, of course, be eating way more than I have been eating for the past couple of months, which means that I'm gonna probably gain weight. And I had to be okay with that. And this was something that basically is the basis of my fear. It's the fear of gaining weight was the reason my bulimia began. My whole eating disorders began. And why it's one of the reasons why this addiction persisted for as long as it did, for 15 years. And so I knew that I needed to work on that if I wanted my recovery to be successful. And so around 70 days ago, I gave myself permission to eat whatever I wanted and how much I wanted, as long as I was listening to my body. Now, just to be clear, I do value being healthy. And I eat 3 meals a day, packed with protein and fiber and all the nutrients that my body needs. And I also work out 6 days a week. I also gave myself permission to eat all the previously labeled bad food that I wanted. Cereal, cookies, cakes, whatever it is, I can eat whatever I want as long as I don't eat them as a substitute for a meal. Because this is something that I used to do to try to restrict how much I'm eating. So I would crave these bad foods and then I would eat them as a substitute for either like breakfast, lunch, or dinner, as a way to eat these things but also restrict my calorie intake for that day. So now I told myself, you can eat whatever you want, how much you want, and there's no substituting the healthy meals that I'm eating. Because again, being healthy is one of my highest values, and I never want to put that on the back burner just for the sake of staying within a calorie limit. I'm still using MyFitnessPal to track what I'm eating, but I'm not looking at the calorie count. I'm just basically documenting the foods I'm eating every day, just to understand what's going on in my body. If I'm feeling bloated at the end of the day, is it because I ate maybe too much protein that day, or I ate too much carbs, or fat, or whatever it is, just to try to understand what kind of foods give my body different sensations, because I don't know how my body behaves without an eating disorder. I don't know what affects it a certain way, and I really want to understand that, because I've been on reduction for such a long time, trying to hit a certain number of calories, but I actually have no idea if these calories are what is gonna help me lose fat, because I don't know what my maintenance calories are, because when I made that estimate, I was still struggling with bulimia. So that number doesn't really mean anything. And the number of calories doesn't really mean anything on this app. I'm just, again, documenting for the sake of understanding. And yes, it is hard sometimes to look at that number and like immediately go into, oh, this is too high, or maybe sometimes this is too low and I need to eat more. But whenever I look at that number and I start getting these thoughts, I just take a moment and I really try to be mindful of my body. And if my stomach is feeling bloated, or if maybe it feels a bit empty, or am I actually hungry? What is going on? Did I even have enough water that day? And so on and so on. So I'm really trying to understand and just work with my body and not against it for the first time ever. And I'm really curious to see how my body behaves and how it operates without bulimia. And after 70-something days of letting my body and brain finally breathe, this is what I have to report. These are the changes that I'm seeing in my body. First of all, which is, I think, the most important thing to me, my mind has never been clearer. I have never been so sharp and so quick in my responses. Even sitting down to film these videos, if you guys been around here for a while, you know that I've been publishing videos for a long time, and I used to really struggle keeping my focus on the script and what I wanted to say. Well, partly it has to do with me talking about something that I really care about now, as opposed to whatever I used to talk about before. But now I actually talk about something that I really care about. But also it's because I'm able to focus for longer periods of time. I'm able to regulate my emotions better. So whenever I make a mistake, I just take a deep breath and I don't try to rush. I used to try to rush everything in my life just to get for the next thing, for the next thing. And this has also been actually a practice that I've been integrating into my life, just taking things slowly and realizing that there's nowhere to really rush to. Like, life is happening right now, and the more I'm mindful of that, the more I'm able to stay more serene and more focused. And being like releasing myself from the restrictions of bulimia have been allowing this practice to fully integrate in my life. And it's been really awesome just to see how I'm changing, how my reactions are changing, the way I'm connecting to people is different. I am more patient, I am more understanding, I am more empathetic. It's been really fascinating on that front. The second thing is that I'm drinking a lot of water. Actually, now it has subsided a little bit, but the first couple of, I want to say weeks, even the first month, I've been craving water like crazy. I think it's because I've been dehydrating my body through purging for such a long time that all my body wanted was water. I was drinking so much water and I had to like continually stand up and go refill my 450 milliliter bottle of water, and I eventually just broke and I'll show you, I got this bottle, which is like a 2-liter bottle because I just didn't want to get up anymore to refill my small bottle. So that has been interesting. In the past couple of days, I've been noticing a decrease in this like urge to drink, but I'm still trying to hit the amount of water that I need, because I don't know about you, but I don't really get the urge to drink that often, if that makes sense. It's a bit weird. I have to like be mindful of it, of how much I'm drinking, and like to get at least 2 liters of water a day. The last time I weighed myself, which was around 3 weeks since day 1 of the 70 days, I saw that I've gained weight. But I haven't weighed myself since that one time because I really want to release this fear that I have from gaining weight, understanding that these numbers don't actually mean anything. And the more I read literature about bulimia and binge eating recovery, I understand that actually the weight that we see on the scale is not a reflection, or actually it's not a realistic reflection of what's going on in the body. What we usually see is fluctuations in fluids, not in food, actually. And that has been fascinating, that these like tiny changes, because for example, when I used to struggle with anorexia, I used to weigh myself every single day. And I realize now that a lot of those changes that I've seen for, if it was going higher or lower, the number on the scale, it was due to how much I was drinking that day, how much liquids actually my body was retaining. So that has also been fascinating. Another change I feel is that occasionally I feel bloated way more than I used to. And I realize that this is a byproduct of me actually keeping food in my body, which I'm grateful for. But this has been tough because I honestly never knew what it was like to have a full stomach. if that makes sense. I always either underate or I ate too much to the point where my stomach was super bloated. So this feeling in between of, I don't actually know if I should call it being bloated. It's just like this like over fullness, maybe I call it. It's not uncomfortable. It's just like a feeling that there's like the right amount of food in my body. It's such a weird feeling that I haven't experienced for such a long time. So this has been really challenging. Again, because this sort of signals to my brain that maybe I overate, and if I overeat, then maybe I'm gonna gain weight, and gaining weight is bad, and blah, blah, blah. So again, it all ties back to the releasing the fear of gaining weight. And once I think of that, then I'm able to focus on other things and not so much on the sensation in my stomach, and I don't allow it to ruin my mood. Another change I've been feeling, and this actually has gone away now, but for the first, I would say around the 50-day mark, something around that, I felt like my body was really heavy. I frankly don't know how to explain this. The only thing I can think of that might be an equivalent to that is walking in water, but of course not as dense as that, but like the way I'm moving through space is feeling a bit off. And again, now I don't really feel like that anymore, but this is something that I felt back then when I wrote this, and it was a bit an off feeling. And I think it's because I have been eating more and I have been drinking way more water that my body suddenly felt heavier. It was just a weird feeling. It wasn't a bad feeling or a good feeling, just something that I noticed and I wanted to talk about. Maybe somebody experienced this as well and you want to share experiences. The next thing is not actually a change, but something that I thought was interesting, that my jeans were fitting better for a while. That was a bit weird because with all these changes, with me gaining weight, with me feeling heavy, and with some of my clothes actually fitting tighter, some of my jeans were fitting better. But again, this changes so much from day to day that it's just like really fascinating to me. And it also goes to show that it's not about the number of calories, it's about a million other different things that happen in our body. Like for example, when I do a strength training workout for my lower body, then it's like harder to put the jeans on in that day. So there's so many factors that go into this, and it's just fascinating because I remember, and this is in an upcoming video that I'm going to record, but I remember how when I was a kid, I always wanted to fit into size small of jeans, and how shameful I felt when I couldn't. And it's actually one of the reasons why I didn't shop for pants for a long time. I used to shop for, tops because I have a slimmer waist compared to the size of my thighs, if that makes sense. So I always could fit into a size small in shirts and so on, but in pants it was always a struggle, and I was always very ashamed of buying like sizes larger than small. But now when I think about it, I'm like, why does it matter? And it's just so freeing to just, when you really let yourself breathe and you let your brain and your body get whatever they need and just all the nutrients and all of everything really that they need, even like the mental space of not thinking about these things, or rather redirecting the focus from these things to think about other things that are more positive and more adding to your life than that. It's just like you realize that how some things don't really matter, and there's again a lot of factors that go into how the body is operating on day-to-day basis. And the last change I've been seeing is actually I have a lot of breakouts around my mouth. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, just like, I don't know if it's a lot, but like they come and go and they vary in their density. When I first got them, I thought it was something that I ate that I was allergic to, or maybe didn't sit well or whatever, but it didn't go away. And I asked ChatGPT about it, and it said it's due to hormonal changes, that usually this area is affected by hormone changes, which makes sense since now my hormones are being regulated and trying to get back to normal, whatever normal looks for my body. So that makes sense, and I'm being very patient with that and trying not to stress about it, because I know if I stress, it's just gonna lead to more breakouts. And I just try to look at it as my body doing its best and my body trying to heal itself from the inside. When I was writing this article, I couldn't help but compare these changes, these discomforts, with the discomfort that I used to get from bulimia, from binging, and especially from purging, how tired that used to make me and how depleted I felt afterwards, I cannot help but just smile. Like, I really sometimes just smile to myself when I think about gaining weight or like the breakouts and whatever. And I will take this every day over struggling with bulimia. Seriously, like there's nothing is worth it. Like nothing is worth being bulimic over. It's just completely hijacked my life for 15 years. You know, now I can look at it with such clear perspective, but back when I was in it, I felt completely hopeless that my life will ever be different, that I would be happy, that I would get out of my financial troubles. I'm still not fully out of them, but I'm trying, and it feels really awesome. It's so freeing to, like I said, to have the peace of mind to think about other things than food and my body and weight, and just think about what I actually want in life. And when I think about those things, I get excited, because life can be really freaking exciting when we decide to put our perspective, or to rather focus our attention on different things. When I said that I was releasing this fear of me gaining weight, this has a lot to do with that, because I asked myself, like, this fear, what has it given me throughout my life? It gave me an eating disorder that stayed with me for 15 years, that resulted in so much shit in my life. If I can trade this fear with anything else, I will choose anything else. And actually, this reminds me of a beautiful sentence that I heard from Elizabeth Gilbert. She said that addiction is throwing away everything for one thing, and recovery is throwing away one thing for everything. So now I'm throwing away the fear of getting fat, or rather the fear of gaining weight, for everything else. And it's so freaking freeing. I became binge and purge free for the second time around on the 17th of September, and I'm gonna give myself 6 months to see just where I'm at with my body, to see how it looks like, what's happening with my breakouts, are they still there, did they move somewhere else maybe? And just see what's happening. I'm literally treating my body as like a loving parent. I'm gonna let them go out into the world and do whatever they want, and then I will check in with them and see if they need anything. The reason I chose 6 months is because this is what I see usually in the literature as sort of like the time that it takes for the body to heal itself or to start getting back to normal is around 6 months. So I'm gonna check in with it on March and see what I want. Now, I have talked about this before in an essay that I wrote. I don't think I made a video about this, that I do value how I look. Now, I will be very transparent and say that it might be that in March, I will take a look at my body and see that maybe I would like to lose some fat after all, and that if the breakouts are still there, maybe I will do some facial treatments or go to a dermatologist or anything like that and see what's going on, because I do value how I look. I still have a certain aesthetic in my mind that I would like to have. Again, not the expense of my mental health, but it is something that I aspire towards, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to want to look a certain way. But the thing is, this time around, whatever changes I decide to do, they're gonna be strictly because I want to do them, because this is what I like, not according to society standards. And I'm gonna really take my time and do my research to make sure that I'm doing it in a healthy way, that it's not gonna cost my mental health or my physical health anything, because that's the most important thing to me. If I see that it's not possible to do that it does come at the expense of any of these things, then it's not gonna be worth it. But for now, as I said, I'm just giving my body what it needs. It's scary, but it's been very, very freeing at the same time. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. I want you to know that even though I don't know you, I have full confidence that you are strong enough to overcome your bulimia addiction. If I did it after 15 years, you can do it as well. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.